Last Friday, Tyson versus Paul, a 60-year-old heavyweight world champion versus a TikTok influencer.
YouTube influencer. Well, I guess he's on TikTok too.
Yeah, well, I think he got popular on Vine first. Then,
Wow,
I think
so he's old. He's old for he's old for a young influencer.
Yeah. So this is what happened. We watched the fight, and I'm sorry, but we cannot show you any of the fight.
Isn't that sad?
Because I had clips ready to go,
Yeah,
and all of them were copyright claimed, so I deleted them from our show list. But I can show you something that may make you reconsider if this was a real fight or not.
okay.
So we're going to get into the fact that Netflix had so many users, even Netflix couldn't keep up. We're going to get into all the crazy WWF, WWE kind of lead up to everything. But I need to show you this video first because this is going to tell you right away that something is amiss. Are you ready?
Yep.
Oops. I know my camera's gone off. That's it.
Nice distance. Hey, bro. Nice one, Mike. Nice one, Mike.
Nice one, Mike.
Bro. Nice one, Mike. Fine. More, Mike.
So you're seeing what's going on with this. And the wild part about that clip is how explosive Mike is. And if you watch the fight on Netflix, then you would know that is not at all what Mike looked like.
Right.
Mike very much looked his age.
He looked older than his age, bro.
Yeah, he looked older.
I was looking at him going, he looks like he's even older than 58. He looks like he's in his 60s. His face had that quality that you get when you get a little older that I'm not far from, that where it starts like caving in on itself a little bit and the wrinkles become like very elderly. I was surprised. And look at how far this is at Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, Texas, by the way, where this took place. And look at how far they made him walk to the ring. Dude, it took like 5 minutes. It took 5 minutes for Paul to ride in his car.
To drive there.
Yeah. I'm like, that guy's going to be tired by the time he gets to the ring.
Yeah, so first off, that part alone, like watching the lead up to it, I'm like, Mike is still, he's still good. This is going to be a great fight. And then watching the fight, I'm like, this was not real. Like he was paid to mail it in.
Well, he made 20 million, I believe. I haven't confirmed that. I keep hearing that from sources, and I hear that Paul made 40 million. So all I can tell you is, you want to know who lost? Netflix lost.
Yes.
And the guy who paid $2 million or $1 million to be ringside at that weird little seating area that had a monitor and it was like right up against the ring. Somebody paid like $1 million to sit there. I'm like, you lost too. Although the undercard fights, 2 of the 3 undercard fights were fantastic.
Yeah, the girls' fight was great.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
The girl who lost should have won. The other girl,
100%. Yeah, she should have won. Yeah. And someone was like, well, they're just going on their pity party tour right now. Like, well, no, like, look at the numbers. Like, she landed more shots. Like, point-wise, she should have won.
It looked like she should have won. Like, I'm watching the fight, and I'm like, you know how sometimes the eye test just doesn't pass? Mm-hmm. You're like, it sure seemed like the other girl hit the other girl more, and it seemed like that other girl got 2 penalties for headbutting. She headbutted her so bad she completely ripped open her eye, which caused it even harder for her to fight. I'm like, anyways, I guess this is the second time they fought, and both times it was questionable, the outcome. So,
interesting.
I'm not a boxing expert, okay?
So, right. A couple things about this, too. Okay, just the stupid driving the custom car up to the ring was so reminiscent of, like, the WWF SmackDowns from back in the day and stuff like that. What made it even more hilariously 2024 is that you can see there was a phone on a little tripod streaming to Twitch while they were doing it.
That's funny.
That was like that's such a Logan Paul, Jake Paul kind of thing to do. And like, while I enjoy the showmanship that these guys have? I do. I like obviously Jake Paul is an expert, or his brother or whoever's in charge or both of them, expert marketers. Like they're very good at marketing themselves. The fight wasn't a good fight. It didn't look real. It looked like it looked like Mike was very old and or mailing it in. It didn't look like the Mike we saw a week before training. It just didn't look like the same person.
Well, and you got to understand the relationship. So, they were friends before this thing happened. I guess Tyson and Jake Logan spent time together, or Jake Paul spent time together. So there was that. Of course, he came up with this idea. So the whole thing was, if you watch when Jake is like riding in on his car, to me he looked nervous. Like, you don't see that usually on his face. He's really good at with his bravado. But to me, he seemed a little nervous coming up. I don't think he quite knew what was going to happen once they got in the ring. My feeling is that there was some discussion as to, hey, this is going to be a big payday. Let's get in there. Let's not hurt each other. Let's not, because it's a lose-lose situation. Mm-hmm. If Jake Paul knocks out Tyson, he's not a hero. Right, because he just beat up an old man.
Right, no one wants to see Mike.
No
Tyson.
one wants to see that.
Yeah,
and he being good marketers, like you said, that would make sense. Like I bet the read in the room was, no matter what happens, you can't knock out Tyson.
Right.
Tyson was announced second. Very important. So Paul came out first, and what is that? That's the contender always comes out first, right? Then the champion comes out next, and it was a huge. I mean, it was probably the most live love that Tyson has gotten in 20 years. Okay. Since his last fight, if not longer, it was really built up as like, and even afterwards, after the fight was over, nothing but great things to say about Tyson. So this was a marketing event from beginning to end. And if you think that they didn't have this conversation, like you can't knock out Tyson. And here's the other thing, Jake Paul, he's trying to build this boxing,
right.
He wants to be a boxer, an actual boxer, right? He thinks this is going to take him to the next level. Well, he can't have Tyson knock him out either.
Right.
Because that would bring him down in the visibility of what he's trying to accomplish.
Right.
So the only way this thing works is if neither of them do. And it was very obvious that neither boxer was trying to hurt each other for 8 rounds, to me.
Yeah, I got to say, if you want to be a real boxer, Jake, here's an idea. Stop challenging people twice your age and retired.
Honestly, yeah.
You want to be a real boxer? Box real boxers.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Mike Tyson's not a real boxer. I'm talking about active in their sport boxers.
He didn't want to go through the work, bro. He didn't want to start at the bottom. And, power to him. He's able to accomplish this stuff. Maybe it'll get him a fight. The whole idea was to get him a fight against maybe one of the really good boxers. And they were talking about how perhaps it might get their attention after this. But really, honestly, it was the worst fight of all 4 fights that happened. Mm-hmm. And it was just a huge disappointment. And honestly, a waste of my time.
Yeah, a waste of everyone's time. And you know what? Netflix didn't. This is not good for Netflix. Not only because they spent so bunch of money on it, but I mean, although they did get a lot of eyeballs.
I'm sure they got a lot of subscribers too.
Yeah, so many eyeballs, so many subscribers that it, broke the platform for a lot of people. But this is why it's not good for them, because you have the NFL and other agencies looking at Netflix right now as their home for live events. Mm-hmm. And right now, Netflix is showing that they really can't put on a live event without a lot of problems.
I want to know, we won't know this, Brian, but I believe that may be the largest streamed event ever.
It might be. Yeah.
I think it might be. And that goes to tell you something, because what was happening Netflix was you get that circle. Now, if you knew the trick, you could back out of Netflix and go right back in, and you only lost about 10 seconds. Most people didn't know you could do that.
Right.
I figured it out. Well, actually, my 11-year-old figured it out. But
you can also use an ad blocker, and that would and like no other windows open, and that would limit how much you're pulling from Netflix, because Netflix has a bunch of trackers that also pull information.
Well, I was using it on the television. I don't know if it makes a difference, but this thing was not just in the United States. You got to remember, these Paul people, Tyson, these are worldwide names. Like
Right.
a lot of people outside of our country know. I would not be surprised if nearly 1 billion people tried to watch this thing. It would
Right.
not shock me at all, seriously. And I don't know if anybody can stream with 1 billion eyeballs trying to get on their platform.
So I'm watching it yesterday with my buddy, and it's interesting because I asked him, like, what's the point of 2 hours of other fights before the fight we care about? And he's like, well, I'll tell you, back in the day, these undercard fights were basically for them to work, because a lot of, like, especially when we first started doing live boxing, there's a lot of things can go wrong, especially with the big boxing challenge. You want to make sure that all the little production errors and issues and commercials and stuff you have to get in there are out of the way before you get to the big ticket, which makes a lot of sense. Like, as a producer, it makes a lot of sense for me to put all the fluff up front, right, and give them the big ticketed event, what they came for, once all the little ghosts in the machines are worked out.
Well, yeah. Also in the 80s and 90s, so they used to. This is where all this started. Was back then they used to charge over $100. Now, if you go back to the 80s, $100 and something was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like $500 today, $500 or $600 a day to watch a pay-per-view event. So if you brought out the main card, especially if Tyson's on the main card and he knocks somebody out in 23 seconds in the first round, you are not going to be happy about the money you spent. So
Right.
they needed to give you more entertainment and create more of there had to be a value for your purchase. So I think that's just kind of continued on. And now it's an opportunity to market. And honestly, if it hadn't been for those 2 undercard fights, you had a welterweight, a championship round match, and then you had the women's championship match. If you didn't have those two, this would have been devastating, I think, and a devastating event.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it looks like they needed that entire 2 hours just to sort of pull the stream together too, because it was like I wonder how many servers they were just dedicating to this event at some point.
Oh yeah, and people don't understand, Brian. If you don't watch boxing, the 2 fights that came before the Paul Tyson fight, you don't get to usually see fights like that.
No, you don't.
People do not usually stand toe to toe and beat the crap out of each other in boxing rings.
No.
That was like really like, I mean, somebody told them, listen, you need to come all out in these fights, because those are the most bloodiest fights I've seen in a while. So
I gotta say,
good
the
fight.
biggest turnoff for me when it comes to boxing is that a lot of the boxing I've watched are like the Tyson Paul fight, where
Well,
no one's
Merriweather didn't ever want to get hit. So
yeah, no one's hitting each other. Everyone's just trying to play for points, and it's boring. Like, straight up, I know these 2 people are fighting technically, but like, I watch boxing, I'm like, this is boring as hell. Then I watch that women's fight, and they're just like losing
toe to toe way. It was,
Oh
what
yeah,
were they
yeah.
calling it?
If that's what boxing was, I would watch it every week.
They were calling it Rock'em Sock'em Robots. You know, if there was a game when we were kids, the Rock'em Sock'em Robots, where they just stand there and beat the crap out of each other. No, absolutely true. And that's why a lot of people are now into UFC instead of boxing, because UFC is more violent, is more action taking place, and boxing's really kind of taken a back seat to it. So we'll see where this goes. I don't know if it's honestly, there needed to be a few more punches taken for somebody, you know. And I think Paul was a little bit afraid of Tyson, a little bit. And I think Tyson
Maybe he was afraid Tyson wasn't going to honor their deal. He's like, this guy is a loose cannon. He's biting his glove. He's like, he's gonna default on our contract and just eat me on live television.
Well, that slap was real. So the slap that happened before was not. A lot of people were saying, "Well, that was set up." No, it was real. It was totally unexpected.
Because Jake stepped on his feet. Yeah,
he stepped on his foot, and Tyson just reacted. I mean, Tyson snapped. So and I think
Tyson was biting his glove because he has like an issue. He has an anger issue. I think what it was, like, I think he's biting his glove as like a way for him to deal with controlling himself. I think that's a control thing.
Oh, maybe. I know he's done it in fights past. I remember, it's funny. I went to look it up. He does. That was way more than he's ever done it before.
And he was chewing on that thing, dude. He was like,
I thought it was funny. He says afterwards, what did he say? He's gonna have a chewing problem.
Yeah, afterwards, like, we saw you biting on your gloves. Is there a story behind that? He goes, I have a biting problem.
Yeah.
or something
Evander
like that.
Holyfield on the side of the thing going like this.
He's still missing half his ear. Okay, that's it. Let us know what you guys think in the chat, in the comment section. What you guys thought. If you guys watched the fight, do you care? Is this a new era for live television on Netflix? Because it might be.